Good morning, everybody. You've got LongwoodGeek here, and I'm testing out a new camera rig, an audio rig that I got for Christmas, thanks to Puck and my parents. So there's a guy on here, Youth Pastor Ryan, who was talking about how every member of his family, except for him, has died and come back. Well, I can't say that I've died and come back yet, but I can say that I have ding-dong ditched death at least 5 times, maybe more. And I'll get into that here. My medical history is rather unique. I actually have several different medical disorders, all of which seem to start around the time I was 16. I'm 36 now, so I've been dealing with some chronic medical issues for about 20 years, give or take. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail about each one of those, and that's probably each one going to be a TikTok video. So we're going to go ahead and probably get started in just a second with this one. So stay tuned for the next video. So I've alluded to my medical maladies starting when I was 16. Well, it turns out, and this had probably been existing since I was formed in the womb, unless I was made in a tank. We still haven't figured that one out yet. I had a tumor in my head. It's called an angiofibroma. It was a benign, blood-fed, and testosterone-fed tumor that was located in my face. Now, I had no facial protrusions. So, and I say face, it was actually behind my cheekbones going, well, the only place it could go, back. So I ended up having to have that tumor out when I was 16 because it was starting to get dangerously close to pressing on my brain badly. And it turns out that it was the size of an overlarge lemon. Pulling it out caused me some brain damage, which was unfortunate but not unexpected. And I've got some mild nerve and sinus damage in my face. However, it doesn't stop there. So part 3, I actually, when they pulled the tumor out, they destroyed my right sinus and again caused brain damage to the right temporal and the executive forefront. And I'm missing the sinus here in my cheek, which means I can feel nothing inside my mouth from about here back. It also causes me, when I get a sinus infection or runny nose, to have some gross effects of stuff that builds up and then comes out at once. So I thought I was okay after that. You know, that was 2 tumors. Or 1 tumor and a big surgery. So I thought it was good until I turned 18 about 2 years later. Turning 18 meant I got to have my appendix out the week of prom, my senior year. So I had my appendix out. So let's keep track. Big tumor out when I was 16. Appendix out when I was 18. Okay, that's the first one's weird, second one's kind of normal for most people. They don't have their appendix. Well, that's where it gets interesting. When I turned 21, I then had to have my gallbladder out and my liver biopsied. I knew my liver had some issues because the Red Cross refused my blood due to the elevated enzyme levels. I was nowhere close to hepatitis, but back then the rules were a lot stricter. So if there was even a hint of an elevated liver enzyme level, they wouldn't take your blood. So, because of that, when they were taking my gallbladder out, I was having massive chronic abdominal pain. I dropped from like 230 to 180. It was bad. Skinniest I'd been in a while, though, so I was in college at this point. And it ended up, when they took the gallbladder out, there was nothing wrong with it. They couldn't figure out why it wasn't working in me. It was only functioning at 11% according to their tests. Well, that was apparently wrong. Or correct, but they don't know why it was correct. They biopsied my liver, and what turned into it was supposed to be outpatient at the hospital, turned into a week. Developed an infection while I was there. So, it gets better. I'm done with surgeries for a while, but I pushed myself so hard in college that I had a full physical and mental collapse. That is something I've been still dealing with, the physical aftermath of that to this day. I do not recommend pushing yourself too hard at any given moment, and if you see that you're approaching your limits, talk to somebody. I had a hard time saying no to my bosses, and that's the reason why I ended up having a total physical and mental collapse. It was not pretty. I was out of work for 6 months. Luckily, I was still able to do college and my radio stuff, but I was not working for 6 months because of that. Alright, so I've had the tumor out, the appendix out, the gallbladder out, the liver biopsy, a physical and mental collapse. My heart was funky on top of it. I have hypertension. They couldn't figure out why in college my pulse rate would hit 175 and stay there, even after they found that on a Holter monitor. Because I was having extreme fatigue. And it turns out high blood pressure can do that. Alright, so I was fine for a bit. Had some, I'm on a bunch of meds then, but not too terrible. A few years ago, about 4 or 5 years to be as close as I can be to it, I developed a tumor in my leg. A buboes. My left lymph node had decided to kill itself. And because of that, it had formed a giant mass around it to protect my body from the necrotizing tissue. Only reason I knew about it before it became visible is because it was sitting on the nerve in my left leg. So walking was not fun. So I had that out. That, thankfully, is the only time I've had an outpatient procedure that was only outpatient. It was a miracle. But it gets better. So in 2017, I pushed myself too hard during a con weekend, science fiction and fantasy convention, and I developed the flu. Now, I had my flu shot in 2017, but the CDC guessed wrong on one of the strains, and because of that, I still developed the flu. Not a big deal. Everyone gets the flu every now and again, not a huge problem. So I go back to work on a Monday. I work all day Monday, half day Tuesday, out the rest of the week. So the next week I'm back. I work all of Monday, part of Tuesday, and they send me home because I'm looking like hell. And it's because I've developed a viral infection in my lungs. The viral infection in my lungs has caused a fun autoimmune disorder to develop called myositis. We don't know if it's genetic or if it's something I picked up somewhere. There's not a lot known about it, but I qualify for Rare Diseases Day. Finally, back in 2018, I had a heart attack. Well, they classified it a cardiac event. Because of a bunch of the medications I'm on, I can't, the enzyme tests were inconclusive, but I matched every other symptom for it. Blood pressure was 169/109, pulse rate was 125, pulse pressure of 117. Yeah, I had the pain in my arm, the pain in my arm, throat, the tightness in my chest, the indigestion. Yeah, it was bad. So my partner Puck rushed me to the hospital. And so now I'm having to deal with FEMLA paperwork and stuff so that I don't have to worry as much about my job, because I have to take time off every now and again because I just can't do it. I can't move. So yeah. So let's count down the number of times I've ding-dong-ditched death. Head tumor. Oh, by the way, with the head tumor, I almost died in the ENT's office because he thought it was a polyp at first and was going to try to cauterize it. He didn't know at the time, and I'm glad he referred me for a CT, that the tumor was being fed by my carotid artery. Well, if he had attempted to cauterize it in his office, I would have probably bled out before anybody could have done anything. So, head tumor, dodged death in a couple different ways. I ding-dong-ditched him like 3 times in a couple days. Appendix removal. Could have burst, could have gone septic. I mean, there's a lot of things there. Not as major as some of the others, but meh. Gallbladder removal, liver biopsy. Ended up in the hospital because I developed an infection and my liver sits so close to my diaphragm that every time I tried to take a breath, my diaphragm was hitting my liver and the pain was extreme. So my O2 sat dropped like a rock. Then I had the buboes in my leg. If the buboes hadn't formed, or if there had been a complication with it, well, that's a necrotic tissue in my body, an old lymph node that could have caused me some massive issues. Finally, or not finally, but then next we had the autoimmune disorder. Thankfully, they got me on meds pretty quick, prednisone and the like, but that could have rendered me bedridden or dead. And the heart attack could have rendered me dead or bedridden. So yeah, I think we're up to, that's what, 8, I think? And that's just if I count the big parts of it, not the minor parts. So, while I may not have died and come back, Death and I are on a pretty much a first-name basis at this point. I bring him cookies, he lets me live. It's a win-win. So anyways, guys, go watch Youth Pastor Ryan's videos if you can. I definitely recommend them. Not just for the dying and coming back, but simply because he's a really cool character actor, and I would love to meet him. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. This is LongwoodGeek signing out, and I'll see you guys maybe on my Twitch or my YouTube. Peace, everybody.